We're gonna start with the Samson post.
That's it. Now, these 4 individual 6-volt batteries are now one big 12-volt battery at 440 amp hours.
The boom there. Voila. Last time, we wrapped up the mass project. For now, that is. So the next project we were motivated to do was the Samson post.
Alright. So I think I'm going to come in behind this deck beam. So that's a 2x and the floor timber is a 4x down here. So I'll probably do another 2x block, run it in behind that, and then that way it'll be in the same plane as the 4x floor down here, and I can bolt it through the floor timber, and I can bolt it through the deck beam, and I can bolt it through the floor timber. And this floor timber has a bolt going all the way down through the 4-foot knee and the 4-foot, so that should be pretty solid. Basically cut the angle here on the bottom and the angle here where it'll kind of butt.
Because it's a 8x8?
Yeah, because I could cut that angle and I could run some spikes also down into that 4-foot knee.
A few cleats on deck are okay for making fast most lines, but we want at least one serious place to tie a line to. Also called a mooring post, the Samson post is one spot on deck we can tie a line to and know it won't pull out.
We should be looking at 19 3/4, somewhere around there-ish. It'll come up. So that means the butt of the sprit. Come back about 2 feet 8 inches. And then that'll be its hinge point. It's basically going to be open all around the sprit, so that the anchor chain on either side can go through it in between these stanchions and the bowsprit. So I need to make sure there's enough room for that to happen. It'll be open on top because the sprit's going to be able to hinge up. So the only thing I need to well, I don't need to decide it now. No, I'm thinking too much. We're just
Keep it simple.
Installing the Samson post. Okay, Samson post. That's all we're thinking about. All right. So 1 foot will be where the top of the sprit's going to be, and then we want just another foot.
Oh, that old bay seasoning you put on there smells so good.
I believe it's time to eat.
Lunch is served.
Alrighty. Dig in.
After lunch, we went over to my parents' house, aka our lumber yard. So this is the beast of a beam that Garrett got that we're going to cut out our bowsprit and the Samson post. Garrett did a bunch of measurements out at the boat earlier today, and I think we ended up with like 7.5 feet or something like that is what we're going to cut off. And we're gonna start with the Samson post. It's just gonna be a single post on the bow, and it's gonna be our super hard anchor spot for anything.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, yeah? Where are you?
Over here.
Oh. All right.
Yeah.
That's alright.
Showered today, too. Yep. Cool.
Alright, there's our beefy Samson post. Roughly. So, tomorrow you cutting more holes in the deck?
Yes. A very large hole. Okay, here we go, 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 here we go. Let's cut more holes in the boat.
Now with the beam on deck and a hole cut, we can start assessing our next steps, which basically means dry fit after dry fit. Lift it up first. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it's just a bit of a tight fit. I think that forward end I need to open up quite a bit more so that we can, because the whole thing needs to tilt forward probably another like 1.5 inches or maybe another inch probably. Other than that, it's looking really good so far.
So how much further down is it gonna go? Like another foot?
Yeah, it's gonna go down probably another foot. Yeah, because I think it's a 12-inch floor timber down there.
Yeah.
And then just keep in mind I've left it long.
Yeah.
So that way
We can trim it down.
Yeah, trim it down to whatever looks right.
Our goal with Redaviva is to be totally self-sufficient, and we finally had all our batteries.
So heavy. Oh.
3 out of 5. This is the kickoff to installing systems. We need a large battery bank to store all power coming in and going out. We'll be installing solar, an inverter, a fridge, cabin lights, navigation equipment. Everything will come through these batteries. Now they're on deck. Now to go down below.
This is much easier. I guess I'll put the starter closest to the engine. Oh, so first of all, this is just.
You can catch your breath if you want.
Yeah, I just want to get the batteries in place more or less where they're gonna go, just so I can see how they all fit in there. And then once I get a visual of it, I'm gonna pull them out. I'm gonna make a big, nice strong wooden box, and I'm gonna put that in there and securely fasten it into the cabin sole and into the framework of the bunk here, and then all the batteries will go into that box, and then they'll be securely lashed in.
So Garrett's been working in here the last couple days that I've been working on the last episode, and a couple things have changed down below. And so the engine box has been redesigned, and I think it's even better. And then he started in and almost finished the framework for our 2 quarter bunks.
Yeah, so I decided to change the design of this engine box because before, the reason it was built so high is because I thought I was going to incorporate it into the galley. I thought I was going to put the sink right here. There's plenty of room for everything that we need on the main galley counter, and I think having that big tall back on this just kind of took up a lot of room and made it feel more crowded, so I decided to just cut that whole thing off. But then the big change is that it'll allow us to have a ton of just lounging comfortable space back here. We're able to extend this quarter berth out even more, and then we're gonna wrap it into this. So backrest here, and this is all gonna be like a big couch, but this whole backrest will come off or hinge back or hinge up, whatever, so that this will make a bunk all the way to the hull and all the way back to that bulkhead, so it'll be a nice big double bunk. I got starboard quarter berth framed in as well. That one you see just kind of went out and then cut it in back to that bulkhead. Gives us a nice big bunk. I mean, it's a giant single bunk or a double bunk for people that don't mind cuddling.
Yeah, so while talking about the batteries, a huge thank you to everyone that purchased one. They were on our wish list, and I think it's been about a month or 2 since we put them on there, and now we have all 5, including the starting battery. And these batteries are awesome. We haven't had batteries like this ever on any other boat. They're, you know more about it, 0 maintenance.
Yeah,
you don't have to fill them.
Yeah, they're definitely a huge step up for us. They're AGM lifelines, so they're 0 maintenance. You don't have to refill them or do anything. They're not spillable, so I mean, you could mount them upside down if you wanted. I don't know why you would, but yeah, just a big step up from the normal lead acid.
So thank you.
Yeah. So here's the battery box that I've been working on. And of course, you know me, Ruth was working on the video and I was left in charge of filming, so I didn't film anything until now. But here it is, just real simple little box. This will hold all of the 4 6-volt deep cycle, the house batteries. And then I'll put the 12-volt starting battery separately. But so I just gotta put a couple of faces on each side, and then it'll be pretty much done. I'll drill some along the sides, on both sides. I'll drill some kind of larger ventilation holes, and then I'll get Ruth to paint it, and then it'll be done.
What was that?
I swear it fit forward. There we go. Alright. So that's pretty much the main structure of the battery box built. The only thing left to complete the battery box is on both sides some vent holes and then paint it. Structure is done.
The battery box is fastened to both the starboard quarter and the cabin sole. Now, to wire them up.
Alright, so I've kind of laid the batteries out in the box. I'm going to series 2 pairs of batteries, so I'll series this pair and I'll series this pair, which will turn these instead of 4 6-volt batteries, it'll turn them into 2 12-volt batteries. Series, you just do positive to negative, and when you series the battery, it doubles the voltage, but you retain the amp hours. So these are all 220 amp hour 6-volt batteries. So once I series these 2 pairs, there'll be 2 12-volt batteries, both still at 220 amp hours. And then once I series the 2 batteries, I'm going to parallel the 2 batteries together. And when you parallel batteries, you maintain the voltage but double the amp hours. So when it's all done, I'll end up with a 12-volt system at 440 amp hours, and this will essentially be just one giant battery. We got a couple packs of 2-gauge wire here, and so I'm going to make big, thick cables to attach these guys together, and cutters and crimpers. Alright, one side done. Alright, so now both batteries are seriesed. So now all I gotta do is parallel them. Now we're going to go across both battery banks. So we're going to do positive to positive. And I don't want these to be super tight, so I'm going to leave them a little loose so I got some room to play with. So there's that one. I'll switch back to the black wire. Now all that's left to do is hook them together in parallel. Alright, so that's it. Now, these 4 individual 6-volt batteries are now one big 12-volt battery at 440 amp hours. Ew, shiny.
Excited to have the house bank wired, I guess we should get back to finishing the Samson post.
No, before we do this, I just gotta go up, find my bevel, and I'm gonna take measurements and stuff, and I'm gonna cut the base, cut the bevels into the base, then we'll do a dry fit. Yeah.
Ah,
We've been trying out our new GoPro and love it, but for some reason it makes us sound like chipmunks.
This is the front face, and then
We'll have to figure that one out.
This bit is what kind of meets up to the floor timber here, and then on the aft end of that floor timber, it's sitting on top of the the stem knee. So the stem knee comes at a hard angle, and then there's the forefoot here. It'll be bolted through the floor timber, and then I'll have a couple of lags, big lags that'll go diagonally down, probably through the stem knee a little bit, and then into the forefoot. And then it'll also be bolted through at the top, at the deck beam.
cool. So we're ready for a test fit?
Yep.
Slide her on in.
Mm-hmm. Sit yours down on the ground. I think so.
Ooh, it is an adjustment on the eyes. Okay. Alright, it's got the butt has to go a little bit more to starboard. Okay, and down. All right, we're down. That actually looks really good.
Looks good. Oh. Okay. Ooh, that looks pretty nice.
got everything ready. We're gonna drop the Samson post back through the hole for the final time, and so through that guy, and he's got a nicely little tar bed down here for it, and try and squish the bolts in there. Ooh, so pretty. After the cotton was hammered in, Garrett primed it before busting out the caulking gun for the Sikaflex. Then once it was dry and the tape peeled away, it was ready for a little oil. Alright, so the caulking is now dry on the Samson post, and we've got 2 more lags to add down below to fully secure it. And eventually this will get shaped down a little bit, but Garrett's not going to do it right now. Probably do it after we do the bowsprit and everything else and kind of shape it to match. So that's why I'm just using teak oil and not the good super duper soup stuff, since it'll still be shaped and cut down. Yeah, and I think Garrett's going to come up in a little bit and start measuring for how we're gonna do the bowsprit bracket, because we want to have the bowsprit a lifting bowsprit. I'm sure there's a technical term for that that I'm spacing on right now, but our bowsprit is gonna stick 10 feet off of the bow, so if we were to pull into a marina or get a slip, it's another 10 feet of slip fees that if we have a bracket and it can lift up, we can save a lot. So we're gonna work with Rolf again to build that, and Garrett's gonna take some measurements and figure out exactly how he wants to do it. It'll be super nice when we got the bowsprit on and we've got our haul out date now. So when we get all the deck planking on, and then after we do the deck planking, the mast will go up, and those are pretty much our 2 big projects, and then also completing the bulwark, so getting the cap rails on. And those are our last major things. Everything else we can kind of do from anchor. The plan is to only be in the boatyard for 2 months. The summer is hot in Napa, and we don't want to dry Rediviva out too much, but the yard is the best place to knock out our last big undertakings to finish the boat. Up next, we unwrap our dinghy, have a little fun, install a few systems, and mentally prepare for yard life again.